Since its announcement at BlizzCon 2014, Overwatch has been a game that has been on many people's radar, blasting out of the gate with an insane amount of hype. Now in 2016 it is nearing full release. The Overwatch open beta just finished up last week, so now tons of people have finally had a chance to try the game that they've been salivating for since the announcement trailer aired what feels like a lifetime ago. Now, with only 1 week left before launch, I'd like to discuss what Overwatch is doing to be so incredibly engaging and draw players in. Ever since the release of the Overwatch announcement trailer, Blizzard has been sculpting a living, breathing world with vibrant characters that are full of personality. Stylized in such a way that resembles a Pixar movie, the world is beautiful and overflowing with charm. With maps inspired by real-life locations and architecture, Blizzard really nailed the feel of these designs. Even with a futuristic look, each location seems to actually exist inside the game world. The world itself is only part of the equation, however. The game's larger-than-life cast is really what sells it. From Tracer's non-stop cheerful attitude to Reinhardt's stalwart demeanor, and even Reaper's ruthlessness, it all works together to create this ensemble that, while very cartoony and over the top, you are able to connect with. Most characters hail from various nations around the world, with only a few sharing a home, like Junkrat and Roadhog. Though, if you go by them, Australia is basically the world of Mad Max. One area that people do have an issue with, however, is character accents. The ways that different characters speak tend to be overly exaggerated and cartoony, playing off of a stereotypical image of how people from different nations supposedly sound. Feelings on this seem to be a bit split. Some people can't stand it, while others find it amusing or at the very least pay it no mind. Personally, I just enjoy it for what it is, a world of cartoon characters who have exaggerated characteristics. Alright, on to the meat of what I would like to talk about, the gameplay. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, things that people love about Overwatch is the gameplay itself. Tight controls, quick action, and solid gunplay all work together to form an excellent, cohesive experience. Matches are intense and well-paced, working together with the map design to create plenty of areas that lend themselves to action-packed firefights. Despite how quick and easy it is to just pick up and play, Overwatch is pretty deep and tactical, with a fair amount of counterplay available to combat the enemy team's approach. Are they favoring long-range sniping, or have heavy weapon emplacements that are keeping your team at bay? Using a quick, evasive character to get behind enemy lines and take it out is a good option. Everything is balanced in such a way that there's always a way to succeed, and rarely did I feel like the game had snowballed heavily enough to the other team's favor that we had no chance. With a game that relies as heavily on coordination as Overwatch does, it is usually helpful to be able to quickly communicate with your team, and thankfully Blizzard included a built-in voice chat system in the game. Helpful for general strategy, calling out enemy positioning, and deciding on your team composition, voice chat is a pretty large advantage in keeping organized. One of the biggest keys to strategy is a well-built team. Playing off of each other and synergizing while trying to counter the other team is a balancing act, leading to a shifting team composition that is amorphous and changes to fit the current situation. This leads to a lot of times where the right decision can make or break the match, always keeping you on your toes in the game from becoming stale. One thing that struck me the other day is about how skins are integrated into the game. Character skins are given away through loot boxes that you get by playing the game and leveling up your account, rather than the typical method used by games where you purchase skins in a microtransaction. This is actually a pretty important dynamic, in my opinion. In most games, skins are something of a point of pride. People generally buy skins for characters that they feel they are skilled with and have a connection to, whereas you can't really do that in Overwatch. Skins from loot boxes are received at random, which does a few important things. Skins being randomized instead of purchased for real money devalues them. The owner just got lucky instead of spending their own money on it. This also encourages people to perhaps try out a character that they normally haven't played, because now they have a cool new skin for them. Skins also serve a purpose out on the battlefield. The fact that skins are received through simply playing makes them more prolific than in most games, which I think is intentional. With a large variety of skins available for every character, it won't be unlikely for every player in a match to be using a skin. This means that even if 2 or 3 players are all playing the same character, there's a pretty decent chance that they'll all at least be somewhat visually distinct at a glance. I think this is part of the reason that skins are available just by playing the game. Blizzard knows that this visual difference between the characters will be helpful to players. That said, skins aren't the only thing contained in loot boxes. They also contain other cosmetic items, such as tags that you spray on walls, different voice lines and emotes for characters, as well as icons for your account profile. I did, however, omit a slight detail when talking about skins earlier. You are able to pick out and purchase specific cosmetics, but it is through an in-game currency known as credits that you receive randomly through loot boxes, as well as for duplicate items that you receive. So even if you have terrible luck while trying to get your last few remaining unlockables, you will at the very least eventually be able to purchase them with credits. The last thing that I want to talk about that Blizzard has done right with Overwatch is about microtransactions. Blizzard has specifically stated that all future heroes and maps in Overwatch will be available for free to everyone who plays the game, and won't be sold through additional purchases. This is an awesome approach to this, as selling additional maps for games fragments the player base and only allows people who have paid extra money to be able to play on the new maps, meaning longer queue times while waiting for matches and fewer people to play with. They did, however, briefly talk about how they were considering selling loot boxes for people who would like to spend the extra money to unlock things sooner. But as loot boxes only contain relatively useless cosmetic items, this isn't a big deal to me. There are some people who have more money than time, so if they want to do something like that, then more power to them. I think I've said all that I feel the need to say about Overwatch. I don't mean to gush, but even with such a brief amount of time with the game available to me so far, it has been some of the most fun that I've had with the game this year. So long as Blizzard continues to properly support and release additional content for Overwatch as time goes on, then I can easily see this being one of my top games of 2016.